Namaste. Hello. My name is Shannon, and I am a yoga teacher, a yoga therapist, and a yoga teacher trainer. And I grew up in a family where my parents were and are yogis and meditators. And I have been living at a yoga retreat center slash spiritual intentional community for just over 3 years. So basically, I live yoga. It is the most valuable teaching that I have ever come across, and I just decided to submerge my life in it, and I'm so happy that I did. And lately, I've been noticing that um, there's a certain blind spot that seems like when I'm teaching yoga students in a class and students to teach yoga, that they don't quite know what yoga actually means and is, and what it's the essence of what it's about. Recently, I was teaching a workshop at the yoga studio that I teach at, and I had asked everyone in the room, do you know what the word yoga means? And none of them knew. And it was an enlightening experience for me, because I just live it, and sometimes I can assume that other people also know what yoga means, especially if they've been practicing it for many, many years. So I thought it would be worthwhile to make a video and to put out into the world to help others to see and understand what the meaning of yoga is, what they're actually practicing when they get on their mat. So just to kind of go back and really break it down and simplify it and go to the fundamentals of it, yoga is a practice that has came from most likely India, and it is a Sanskrit word, and the Sanskrit language is probably one of the most oldest ancient language in the world that's still around, or at least one of the most ancient languages. And so the word yoga translates to yoke, or to unite, or to connect. And I remember hearing this in my first yoga teacher training program that I went through, and I didn't quite understand what that meant. I just kind of assumed that it meant like, oh, okay, yeah, to unite the body and the mind, because the body and mind are connected. I think most people are aware of this. But that's not quite the full and actual truth of it. And I didn't understand that until later on. I started to understand more and more what yoga actually meant. So what it really means is to unite your individual self, like the self that who we think we are. Like, I think I'm Shannon. I think I'm this person that has this personality. I'm a Gemini. I'm a Vata. I, like rivers, and I have this personality, and sometimes I get triggered. Sometimes certain other personalities trigger me, and I love the color purple, and I have this personality and this sense of self and this body, this flesh, this identification. But then there's also this deeper self, this more expansive self that I also am, that I am inside of, and that is inside of me. And that is the omnipresent consciousness of the divine, or Allah, or God, or um, energy, or universe, or source, or whatever words you want to use to define it. But it's this non-dualistic consciousness, this state of being that yoga helps us to connect with. And it helps us to expand our understanding, our consciousness of the knowing that we are not separate from other things, that I'm not separate from you watching this video, and that I'm not separate from, this butterfly right over here. I'm not separate from this blade of grass, or the owl hooting. or the sun. Um, that the consciousness that is within me, that deeper sense of self, that light, that life force that's animating, that's bringing power to my body, is the same life force that animates all of creation. And so when we say namaste, that's what we're bowing to. We're bowing to that consciousness that is within you and that is within me. And when we practice yoga, it helps us to unite ourselves with that consciousness, to experience that oneness. And this oneness is beyond a state of happiness. It's beyond a state of a contentment or peace, or it's not something I don't think we can quite conceptualize what connecting with this omnipresence is like. But from my own experience, I think the closest I've been there is that it feels like a state of just, absolute joy and bliss, and it's just a really beautiful thing. So that, in a very small nutshell, and yoga is simple. It can be really simple, or it can be complicated, but in a simplified sense, that is what yoga is. That's what we're doing when we practice hatha yoga. And another thing I like to explain too is hatha or yoga isn't just movement, doing techniques that move our body, that help us to purify our tissues and purify our energy to connect with the divine. But it's really anything, any technique, any activity, any behavior, any mental activity that where the intention is to unite with the divine. So it doesn't necessarily mean just movement. Meditation is a form of yoga. Chanting, devotional chanting is a form of yoga. Practicing mantra, that's a form of yoga. Being out in nature and connecting with the life around you, that is a form of yoga. I'm pretty sure there's a Sanskrit name for that, for nature yoga. Yoga is a very broad term. So, and there's lots of different branches of yoga. Hatha yoga is just one small branch that actually wasn't really popular in India for a very long time. Other forms of yoga were more popular. But in the West, that's what is most popular, and it seems to have gotten watered down. And the essence and the meaning and intention behind what we're actually doing when we practice yoga has gotten lost. It's not necessarily about being strong, being flexible, having mental clarity. I mean, those are all symptoms and beautiful benefits of the practice of yoga, but that's not like the main reason. That's not why we practice it. So I advise you, next time you go to practice on your mat, movement yoga or any other form of yoga, make the intention that this practice is about uniting, connecting yourself with the divine, with the beauty of all that is, with your sense of self, with your natural state. And when you make that connection and when you follow through with it as you practice and internalize your awareness, go within, connect with the heart space throughout your practice, essentially what happens is that your nervous system calms down. You feel safe, you feel secure. You're able to go into that rest and digest state. And what happens is that the rest of your body responds to that and calms down and functions better. So your reproductive system, your digestion, your cardiovascular system, all of it is able to function more optimally when our nervous system is calm. And our immune system even enhances too when our nervous system is calm. So another thing that happens is that our muscles relax. Tension is released. Energy is released. We're able to open up. We're able to receive. We're able to open up space for that divine consciousness, our true self, to blossom and come through. So you don't necessarily have to worry about, all the physical benefits of yoga when you go to practice the intention of yoga. That just all unfolds on its own and happens on its own without even thinking about it. And also, too, if you practice yoga to strengthen the body, if your intention is to go inward and to connect with your divine true self, as you're in plank pose and you're, and you're connecting with your consciousness, you're connecting with your heart, you're connecting with this like more expansive sense of self, and you're in plank pose, you're less connected to your body, the challenges of the muscles that are holding you up. It the challenge and the difficulty in plank pose becomes less problematic because we're not identified with that. We're more identified with this more expansive sense of self. So you're able to even hold that posture for longer. And then what happens? Your muscles strengthen, your abs strengthen, your arms strengthen, your whole spine strengthens. So, so I highly advise you to connect with what yoga actually is when you go onto your yoga mat. It will be so much more nourishing and will bring so much beauty into your life. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can follow me on my Instagram page, and I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you. Namaste.